a little girl lost her coin, and she was searching for the lost coin outside the house. So her mom returned from work and joined this little girl in search of the lost coin, seeing how serious she was to recover the coin. So after a few minutes of searching, they did not see the coin. So the mom now asked her, "Where exactly did you drop the coin?" And the little girl said, "Under the sink inside the kitchen." Then the mom, in surprise, asked further, "If you lost it or dropped it inside the kitchen, why then are you searching for it outside?" And she said, "Because there is no light in the kitchen." So, my dear friends, a problem well identified is a problem half solved. The first step to recovery is getting the diagnosis right. We continue the second reading from letter of St. James. And 2 Sundays ago, we identified James as a practical person. And just last Sunday, James told us what it means to be a man or a woman of faith. We remember he said that the best way is to show your faith in practical works, because faith without work or good work is dead. Today, James is tracing the origin of wars and conflicts to the human part. That it is our passion that leads to war and conflict. So he says, the wars and conflicts among you, were they not coming from your passion? It is said, nemo dat quod non habet. What one cannot give what he or she doesn't have. A person cannot give you peace if the person lacks inner peace. Before a terrorist terrorizes you, he or she must have suffered inner torture. We cannot continue to search outside what we lost inside. And the gospel of today, Jesus is taking a very decisive step. He says, he first of all sat down, and sitting down is the posture when a rabbi wants to pass an important message. So, sitting down means that he has something serious to tell his apostles. Remember, he has left the north, where he was much safer, moving to Jerusalem in the south, where the cross was waiting for him. So he prepares himself, his apostles, for what lies ahead. So when he sat down, he reminded them what he had told them earlier. And that is that the Son of Man was going to Jerusalem, of course, where he would carry his cross, where he would be handed over to the enemies, where he will die, where he will also resurrect. But the disciples are not ready for this news. And so, instead of reflecting on what Jesus had told them about his ordeal, what he was going to pass through, they decided to distract themselves by arguing among themselves who is the greatest among them. And then Jesus did what? Of course, sitting down, decided to give them this important piece of information. That one, what were you arguing? He asked them. What were you arguing along the way? And they were silent. Being silent probably was out of shame. They were very bold to argue among themselves, the greatest. But when Jesus put this question before them, they were silent. They must have realized how shameful their thoughts and their arguments was. So now, Jesus brought a child after telling them that the first, if you want to be the first among others, you should be the last, be taking up the position of a servant, serving others. And he brought a child before them and said that whoever wants to be the greatest should be as humble as this child. And bringing a child, what lesson is he teaching his apostles and us today? The lesson is that he was awakening in them the child in them, the child in them. Because all of us were children before we became adults. He was trying to remind them their original innocence. Because at that stage of innocence, it is not about who is the greatest, not about who is this or that. So he used this child to call their attention to the important parts of their life that has really, they have forgotten. They should go back to that original state of childlike spirit. Then, after that, he says again that those who want to be leaders should also be servants. That's the message. And talking about going back to our original innocence. Once in the seminary, the rector is like the president or the principal. The rector told young seminarians that his mission was to help them become human. And helping them to become human, he was unable to achieve that. One, we have many priests, but we have few human beings. When we say human beings, I mean people who live like humans, who have human hearts. So he said that this mission is very difficult because in their families, parents did not do their own part. And leaving that vacuum, it becomes a very difficult task for him to make these children or these students human. Going back to the beginning, Jesus is calling on all of us today, in the words of James, and also from the gospel that we have read, that we, as families, should remember that what is not solved in the family will not be solved outside the family. It begins with the family. Leaving the government to train our children may not give us the required results, because when it comes to the government, it is general. But when it comes to the family, it is particular, because it's your own child. It's not only about children, it's also about spouses. You go, you fix dinner only when you have no other thing to do. But it shouldn't be that way. So today, the church is reminding us the importance of family, togetherness in the family. Because it is said that the family that prays together, of course I add eats together, of course such family is staying together. It is a time we put the phone, electronic devices away and sit down and listen to each other, to one another in the family while taking our family dinner, bringing out the family issues, everybody contributing, not the man carrying it alone, not the woman carrying it alone, but even both man and woman, then children also sharing, especially on those things they should know. That is what the church is asking us today to do. Where children will ask parents sincere questions, and parents will also be sincere in answering their questions. I wonder how many people who still do that. When we were growing up in Africa, our parents used to tell us stories, and there is a particular animal that they use to tell these stories. Is a tortoise. Our people believe that the tortoise is a very wise animal. So they use everything. It was all about the tortoise, so that we grow to become wise. Whether I became wise, I don't know. But they use this to bring us together. They tell us stories, many, many stories. And every culture has its own way of doing this. If we lose it from the family, we lose it even in the church, in the society, everywhere. I am very pro-family. So let us look back. That's environment. Not just once in a while, during Thanksgiving, during one holiday or the other. If I ask how many families still pray together today, I wonder how many. I mean, they sit, they even ask the children maybe to read a verse or a chapter, or to lead in the intercessory prayers, to see what they think, take responsibility. I wonder how many still doing that. But today we are reminded, my dear brothers and sisters, we cannot fix what is lost inside. We cannot fix it outside. We start from the inside. The little girl was searching for what? A coin that she lost under the sink in the kitchen, on their lawns outside. If the woman did not ask that important question, where did you drop this coin? Probably they would have searched throughout the day in vain. My dear friends, we pray today that God helps us to know where to begin to solve our problems, and God is always there to give us a direction.